I could probably shut that cupboard actually. Hang on a second. There we go. Alright, so it looks like we have one person watching. That'll be you, Panu. How you going, mate? Yeah, I can probably just hang out for a little bit, see if anyone else wants to jump on. But who knows? So what I'm thinking of actually doing is running a couple of live lessons over the next few weeks, obviously, especially while everyone's in isolation. But it's something that I've really wanted to do anyway. One of the things that I've been focusing on a bit more in my videos, as you've probably noticed, is the theory stuff. And it's a little bit dry at the moment. It's a bit boring, basically. It depends, I guess. I mean, me, I've always been interested in that stuff. You know, I want to know how it all works. But what you actually find is the more you go through it, even though it might not make sense at the time, as you figure more things out, it becomes more relevant. I'm trying to see. So what I'm actually wanting to do is start talking about how that theory applies. So if we're talking about some kooky rockabilly licks, for example, or maybe even some chord-based things like... Oh, cool, I already got a comment there. So that's, Ozark Greaser, what kind of Gretsch is that? Love the look and sound. This is a Gretsch 6128, 1957 reissue. So it's very, very similar to, sometimes it gets mistaken for one of the Electromatics, which I'd say is upsetting, but it's not, because they're awesome guitars as well. You know, there's some people, especially these days, like the last couple of years, they've gotten so good, those guitars. One of my students brought in one of the Electromatic solid bodies that looks really similar, but it's got the flat top pickups. Yeah, it is, absolutely. So it's, Ozark Greaser mentioned it's the Cliff Gallup type of thing. It is, very much so. I'm a huge Cliff Gallup fan. Yeah, one of my students brought in one of the flat top Filtertron type pickup things. And the build quality, I swear, I mean, if you turned it over like that and I held them both, you wouldn't know which was which, because the grain of the wood, the neck, and I'm going, man, they're really offering some good value for money now. I do think the very, very early Synchromatics, which I had one and all that, were a little rough, but they've gotten better and better. So anyway, keeping on moving. Now, so for any of you guys that are jumping on from YouTube, I wanted to make this for my Patreons only, but I actually couldn't figure out how, and I thought, well, this is probably a good opportunity to explain to you guys that the Patreon channel for $2 a month or $5 a month, it's really up to you. There's not really any difference at this stage between the tiers. I kind of can't bring myself to offer someone who's paying $2 less than what I'm giving someone who's paying $5. I just appreciate it all so much. But basically, I want to do these lessons to reward the people on Patreon. Love your channel. Please teach us some hip chord substitutions to spice up a 1-4-5 progression. I can definitely do that. This is great. And I have a student of mine too who's hopped on. Man, this moves quickly. Video stream's slowing down, cutting in at the moment, but I can hear you. Some rough internet there for some of you. Hopefully that picks up. Yeah, I'm guessing internet's probably a little rough at the moment all over the place. Are any of you other guys having any streaming issues? Just maybe shoot a comment and let me know. Yeah, so just to get back where I was, I'm hopeless at keeping my thought stream at the best of times, but yeah, these live stream lessons will be, I'm going to try and work out how to make them for Patreons going down the track. All good at my end. Okay, might depend on where you are, Panu. So thanks to Panu, he's a Patreon of mine, awesome dude. He actually sort of helped me set this up a little bit this morning. I do appreciate that. He was telling me, you know, that he's in the waiting room and it all looks like it's going to go ahead. So that's been really cool. Yeah, so I'll be doing live stream lessons, and hopefully, yeah, if any of you guys want to jump on and flick that $2 a month, then you'll have access to them, because I'm going to set them up so that they're exclusive. But look, let's see how it goes. If it works out really well, it may be a case of, you know, doing live stream lessons where I make it available to everyone, but I tab the material, and in that scenario, you know, you don't get the tabs unless... Geez, I feel so mean saying that. The Patreon thing took me a long time to do, because I hate asking anything of people, but you know, it would be like a dream come true to be able to just do lessons on the styles that I love, and you know, obviously make more of an income from it. I mean, even at the moment, it's awesome. I'm going really well, Luca. Thank you, mate. So at the moment, we're obviously all, you know, sort of stuck at home a little bit more. So I think it's a great time to focus on your hobbies. Funnily enough, I've been actually working. My father-in-law dropped off an old quad bike and a motorbike, and I've been restoring those things. So in the little bit of extra spare time I've had, it's funny, you guys are probably all like, yeah, I can practice guitar. And I'm like, hey, I can go, you know, maybe you're fixing cars normally or something, like if you're a mechanic, and then you're like, hey, I can stay home and practice guitar. And I'm like, hey, now I can go fix things. It's kind of a reverse. Ah, okay. Thanks, man. So someone just let me know it's really late. Where are you, mate? It's Studio Deb. I can't say your name. Wait, at home studio in French, I think it is. What time is it? And you're in France. What time is it right now? Because this is something that I want to try and work out. Yeah, okay. What time is it over there? It's kind of weird, I'm having it. Oh, 11 p.m. All right, cool. Good to know. So if I was to get on board an hour before now, would that be... It's really hard to figure out because I've got so many people to juggle. But, you know, I'm happy to get up nice and early. If it's 8 o'clock, maybe it's not too early for people here in Australia. I think it's not a bad time for people in the US. So definitely want to account for people in Europe too. So we'll figure all these things out. I might play something for you too. Someone mentioned just before as well how to spice up a 1-4-5. So if we're talking in G, okay, here in Finland, it's midnight in Finland. Okay, maybe I should get up at 6 a.m. and do these live stream lessons. Let's go through something. I love questions. If you've got questions, ask questions, because that definitely gets my juices going. I love answering questions. You really feel helpful when you're answering questions. Okay, so a 1-4-5 progression. So we've got a G chord, a C, and back to a G. So let's just look at that in a major sense like that. And of course we can make that a progression. But what I might do is we'll just walk through those three chords. So obviously you could do a dominant 7. That's you know, lifting off your pinky there and getting the flat 7. And this is what I want to use the theory discussions for. So and you might know this, so I apologise if it's frustrating, but if we play a major scale based on the tone, semitone thing, as in the lessons, that note there is the 7th note, but it's been lowered 1 degree, okay? So every chord is made up of the 1st note of the scale, the 3rd note of the scale, the 5th note of the scale, and if we want it, the 7th note of the scale. So in this case, it's a flat 7. Now, we don't play the chords in that order because they'd all be on top of each other. Good gig lesson to everyone. Yeah, cool. Hopefully this records it. Hopefully it records it, I'm not sure. Whatever I do today, I guess I can even make a recorded lesson for it too, so you don't miss out. Anyhow, so there's the flat 7. The thing is, we can't play all those notes on top of each other because we need that space. So for example, on the guitar, we always end up doing things like, okay, well that B, we're going to play that on the 4th fret over here instead. That's the same note, okay? So you could play it like this, and then we lose our 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just remember, we need a 1, a 3, a 5, and in this case, we're adding a 7. Because guitar is all stacked on top of itself, we end up with this layout, right? So we've put our B over here, and that just explains loosely, you know, that voicing. But you know, you're talking about spicing it up. Well, let's add some tones that make it a little bit more interesting. Let's say we go. The 5 doesn't actually make it that interesting, so let's not worry about that one. Let's drop that. I'm going to put my first finger here. I'm going to put my second finger on the flat 7. And that frees up this finger, the pinky, so maybe we can get the 5 over here. Sorry, the 6 in the scale. So, see ya, I'll watch later, got class. No worries, mate. Good thing you're still doing your schooling, it's great. sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the major scale, but we can play the 6 over here as well. In that upper octave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when we play this chord, that's a slightly spicier 1. Okay, now if you happen to know that chord, well, maybe now you understand the theory of it a little better. If you don't know that chord, well, hopefully you just learnt something. So, it looks like someone's just jumped on. We're just going through adding the 6 to the dominant 7 chord. Now that chord is actually called a 13. Now, why do we call it a 13 as opposed to like a G6 or a G dominant 7 with a 6 or something? Whenever we have the dominant 7, the flat 7, sorry, any extensions, what we call extensions, so any extra notes, and that would be anything that's not a 1, 3, 5, or 7, anything that we add above that, we actually refer to that note above the 8th, above the number 8. Now you're going, what the heck does that mean? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're using a flat 7 here, but just for argument's sake, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 7. And here's the 1 again, but we're going to call that the 8. So we're going to go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so we can think of that note as the 13th. Now, we only need to refer to it as the 13th when we have a flat 7 involved. Okay, so anytime, if I play a G13, that actually means we have the 13th and we have the flat 7. It's almost like an abbreviation. So that would be called a G13. Now we can use that for our 4 chord too. If we slide that right up to C, then we bring it back to the 1. We can use it for our 5 chord up at the D, and the C, back to the G. So all I did was take a Travis picking pattern and then move that around. I also moved that chord around a little bit. That all I was doing there was changing that 13. I was grabbing my 3rd with my pinky and then freeing up my 3rd finger so I could grab. Thanks, man. Thank you. And then grabbing that. So that's just little changes, you know, to make it interesting. And that stuff. You know, it's a little bit like having a conversation and you're adding words and stuff. I don't know. So that's one way you can really spice up a 1, 4, 5. And then another way is you might just use a 9 chord. You might have seen this one's pretty common. But let's say we use a 13 there, and instead of sliding up to here to play the C13, I could actually play a C9 like this. So this is a regular C7, right? And you're going to get to see that rule again that I mentioned just before. There's our flat 7, right? So this is a C major chord. 1, 2, the 3rds there. 4, 5, the open 3rd string. So 1, 3, 5, and then our root note again. Now we ditch the 5, which is on the 3rd string. We just cut it off with our pinky and we play the flat 7. The 5 doesn't add a lot of colour, it kind of adds depth. That's the way I see that. Alright, so here's a C7. What we're going to do is play a C9. So I'm going to go 2, 1, 3. I'm going to add the 9, which is here, okay? Looks like it would be pretty easy to get a 5220 and slap an old style Bigsby on there, and it'd look the same. Yeah, maybe. And what are you using for a delay? I'll get to that in one sec. I'll finish this chord and then I'll quickly talk about the timeline. So we've got the flat 7, and if we keep going, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to play a major 7 just to illustrate the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what was our second in the first octave, 1, 2, which is a D, is our 9 in the next octave, okay? But if we weren't playing the flat 7, we wouldn't call the chord a 9. If we did this, no flat 7, that's actually a C. We could call it a C add 9, okay? Or you might call it, yeah, you'd call it a C add 9. But when we have the flat 7, we just call it a C 9, and the 9 implies the flat 7, okay? So we could go from this chord straight across to a 9 chord. So I'm alternating that finger to get the bass. You don't have to do that, you could always... And then we could play a D9, same chord but from D. That's a whole way to spice up a 1-4-5. Just a simple way. Of course, there's a lot of variations of that. There could be like a minor 1-4-5. You could do a whole bunch of different things. But anyway, I didn't even really plan on doing any kind of a lesson. It's just the question got asked and I couldn't help but answer. It's kind of, you know, I obviously love that stuff, so it was easy work. Just yeah, to answer that question about the delay that I'm using. Now, if you're thinking about buying any kind of digital delay or modeler, or even any single delay pedal that essentially is a digital pedal, okay, I highly recommend just saving your money and getting one of these, because then you can pretty much have every digital delay you want. I love this thing. I can't walk past this thing without plugging it in when it's out. I have to put it away sometimes because it's just, yeah, really addictive, and you can spend all day getting different sounds. So this is on a D tape setting, and they're a little bit complicated at first, but if you spend the time and learn to use them, they're really rewarding. But I absolutely love the D bucket, the analog sound. It's kind of got like that Memory Man tone. The digital one's a real nice tight delay. But my favorite, probably by far, is the lo-fi. I really like that kind of grungy, dirty breakup. Well, let's have a listen to this. Yeah, this to me it's got that, I don't know, apocalyptic. I really like that sound. So anyway, let me know what you think. Give me some comments as to, you know, what you want to see next. How did it all work? Yeah, it's I might end up just doing these on YouTube for the time being, and then I might do specific videos just for the Patreon guys. You know, I appreciate everyone's viewership, comments, subscribing, all that kind of thing. But I definitely want to honor the people that, you know, are willing to or can help out. So it's always a little tricky, but yeah, it's really good fun. So I'll jump on and do this again in a couple of days. I'll give you all a heads up. Seems to work quite well. And yeah, thanks for watching. I better go, and I've got a whole bunch of online lessons today, so I better get to work. I hope you guys are all doing well and staying safe. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.